Welcome back to the Rating Climb. Average Joe is 835. I'm going to jump right into a game, and as usual, I have my spreadsheet over here with some openings that you guys have recommended that I'm going to be trying to play. D4. Oh, okay, so you might actually get a chance to play the Budapest Gambit here. So the Budapest Gambit is... Oh, it's not even E... What am I doing? Video's not off to a good start. Okay, I was supposed to play knight f6 first and then e5. I don't even know... This is the England Gambit, not something that was on my list, not what I wanted to play. And our opponent doesn't even take it. So I think if I play knight f6, I don't even know what that is. Okay, we're just going to take the pawn. We're going to take the pawn because it's going to force the queen to come out. We're going to gain a tempo. I apologize. I need to wake up a little bit here. So the queen does come out. We're going to attack it with the knight, gain a tempo. And you can just forget about the opening. Ooh, queen e3. Okay. So there's a couple of problems with this move for white. Number one, you're blocking your bishop, so you're going to have a hard time developing that. Number two, you're blocking this pawn, which means you're also blocking this bishop. So the queen's going to be in the way, essentially, for white to develop their pieces. The check on my king doesn't really do much. I'm probably just going to block with the bishop. I could also go with the knight, but no, I think I would rather go with the bishop. That way I can play knight f6 and castle, and I don't block up any of my pieces. Wow, queen to g3. Okay, so they're going for this, obviously. And there's a couple of ways that we could handle this. Number one, we could obviously play bishop f6 and defend the pawn. But a more aggressive approach, and what I think I'm going to do instead, is use it as a gambit or like a poison pawn and play the move knight f6. And basically what I'm saying is, look, go ahead and take me. I'm going to play rook g8, and I'm going to gain a bunch of time, and I'm going to have all of these pieces starting to put pressure on white's position, and all they're going to have is, okay, they don't even do that. They go for a fork, but it's a very easy threat for me to deal with. So I think I could play d6. I'm wondering if there's something else that I could do as well. Like, for example, let's say I castle. Do we have any tricks here? Like knight e4? Maybe not. Maybe not. So maybe the simplest thing is just d6. Just deal with the threat. Blocks off the queen. Same thing. If they take here, I'm going to play rook g8. And there we go. And so the nice thing about rook g8 is it's defended by the knight. Everything is defended. Notice that this is defended, so the queen can't really do anything else. And look at this. Now my rook is involved in the game very early on. I'm getting control of all these squares. Look at all the pieces that I have. And white has wasted so much time. That's why I like to play this way. Okay, now Stockfish sometimes says you can do this with white, and if you play the perfect moves, you can like defend and be okay. But practically speaking, this is going to be probably a very bad situation for white. So the question that we need to figure out is, how do we capitalize on this lead in development, right? Now, sometimes you can play rook g6, keep chasing the queen away. I don't know that I'm going to do that right now. I might do it later if it looks more beneficial. There's also knight g4 that you want to keep an eye on. Sometimes that could be useful. Now, in this case, I don't think so because I would lose my pawn. I don't really have a follow-up. But probably the best thing is going to be to just keep developing, I think. So maybe bishop f5 looks like a pretty nice move. Yeah, let's just do that. Just keep building the pressure. And it's going to take white several moves to figure out how to develop all their pieces, right? And we're going to see how, once I complete my development here, probably queen d7 and castles. Maybe I'll chase away this knight. And then you just kind of look for tactics, and you look for weaknesses in your opponent's position, and there's going to be some. There's going to be some. So we'll keep an eye out for that. Okay, so again, a queen move. I mean, the white has played how many moves with the queen? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 6 moves with the queen. To 9, this is 9 moves in the game. They played 6 with the queen. That's not good. So, do I want to attack it right now, or do I want to keep developing first? I kind of like that because it brings my knight forward, puts the pressure on. It's a nice centralized square. Then maybe I can start thinking about some sacrifices and starting to attack. Yeah, I think I do want to do that. Let's go ahead. Let's jump in. And the reason I'm doing it now is because it's with the tempo, right? I don't waste time, and it doesn't allow white time to develop their pieces, which is a big deal. Let's see where white's going to put the queen this time. I'm guessing maybe d5. Then we have to consider if we play knight b4, or do we just defend our bishop with queen d7? Okay, they do go queen d5. So knight to b4 is interesting. The problem is we lose a bishop, and I don't really think that the follow-up is good enough. Because we wouldn't be able to take here. We would take a rook, but then our knight's stuck in the corner. That's probably not what we want to do. So I think the move is just simply queen d7. Oh, you know what? There is an interesting tactic that I'm just now noticing. If white's paying attention, they could actually sack here. I take it. Then they take my bishop. That's pretty annoying, actually. I just noticed that. So do I want to try to prevent that is the question. How big of a deal is that? Takes, takes, takes. Do I have a follow-up? You know what? I might still actually have a follow-up. Knight to d4. We'd have to lose a knight. We jump in here. The king moves. We take the rook. Still a pretty nice position for me. So I could probably get away with that line if I want. Or maybe just retreat the bishop. Retreating the bishop looks pretty solid, though. Yeah, I think I am just going to retreat. Just to avoid that little tactic. Let's just go back. Keep it nice and simple. And, you know, the nice thing about this is I'm scanning and I'm looking for tactics, but I don't have to panic. Like, my pieces are already out. White still has several moves to, you know, develop. I can kind of take my time and just play good, solid moves. Make sure all my pieces are defended. And the tactics are going to come. They're going to come at some point. We just got to keep our eyes peeled. Okay, they play e3. It does block the bishop in, but they're trying to get this guy out, which makes sense. Let's see what happens if I chase the knight away. Maybe it goes here. We could take it and double up the pawns. Maybe it goes here. That doesn't look that good for me. All right. What about knight to b4? What happens here? Because, wow. Yeah, it definitely looks like, let's see. There's a threat of a fork. There's a threat of the queen. If the queen takes here, wow. Well, let's see. We take, the king moves. If we take, then this happens. So maybe it does make sense to chase the knight away just so we don't have to worry about any forks here. Since I can do it with tempo, I think I will. Let me go ahead and do that. Basically, I was calculating and I was seeing some lines where the knight would end up capturing here. Like if the queen came in and the knight came in. Yeah, this, now I think knight to b4. Let's see. So knight to b4, what's the idea? I'm threatening a fork and the queen. Now the knight's defending temporarily, but I could very easily chase that away with c5. Position's getting very complicated, actually. I'm scanning to see if there's anything more obvious. Knight to b4, if the queen takes, let's just say c5. Where does the knight move? Even rook b8 first could be a nice in-between move. Yeah, so knight to b4. If you try to go back to, let's just say to b3. Again, c5. Let's just say a3 takes. It's got to be good for me, I think. Let's do it. Let's do it. So we're going on the offensive. It's getting very complicated, and I don't want to use all my time, so I'm forcing myself to move here. So I want to play c5, then maybe there's knight c6. So I'm thinking we throw in this move rook b8. Similar idea that we saw over here. Gain a tempo on the queen, activate another piece. Queen's probably going to move, and then we can hit him with c5, force the knight away, jump in here. Let's do it. Let's do it, rook to b8. A very weird game, but what you're noticing is now almost all of my pieces are in the game. The queen is really kind of the one piece that we haven't activated very well, but everything else is starting to increase the pressure. And look at white's pieces. Just look at this, right? There's no way that there's not going to be a tactic that pops up very soon. And I think now we go c5, chase the knight away, and then we take here. There is a3, which is a little bit interesting, but I think we could even take. Not sure what the follow-up is there. I'm pretty happy with c5, I think. Let me see something else, though. Can we also... I wonder if we can actually even trap the queen, now that I'm looking at this. Like, for example, knight c5. Followed by rook b7. Wow, that might even be... Rook a8 first, then knight here, then the queen can escape on f3, I believe. Yeah, so what if I just play knight c5 and trap the queen? I'm not seeing a way for... But also, bonus it defends over here. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Knight c5. I think we just trapped the queen. So notice, you can't go on this diagonal. You can't take this. You can't go over here. You can't go here because my queen. And so all I have to do is attack the queen, which I could do with rook b7 next move. And I don't see how white's going to stop that. We'll see if they can come up with an idea. But even if they attack my knight, I don't care. I'm going to play rook b7. It's a more powerful threat. That's what they do. You can also jump in here. That's a nice hole as well. But I think if you've got a queen you can take, why not just take the queen? Yeah, this is also a very tempting move, though, isn't it? Jumping in there. I could even recapture with the bishop. Still threatening to trap the queen. But then the knight can jump in. No, okay, so we can't do that. All right, so let's go rook b7. We'll go rook b7 and go ahead and get the queen, and then we'll go from there. I do have to speed up 2 minutes, so I'll have to kind of limit my commentary here, but I'll try to still give you the, the main points. So basically, take the queen, and then just go from there. White's going to get a few pieces for it if they're smart. Bishop to b5. What in the world? So obviously we could just take the piece or remove our king. If we take the piece, I guess the queen escapes, but I'm still getting a free piece, which is a good deal. If I go here, I'm getting the queen, but then, yeah, white's going to get a bunch of pieces. I think I'd rather just have a free piece, honestly. Free piece is very good. Free piece is a big deal. So let's just go ahead and take that. Also, it's the light squared bishop. So now, even more weaknesses for white here. Okay, so they're going to save their queen, and then we're going to jump in. All right, if we can get rid of this, we have a fork here, but I don't know that we can do that at the moment, so I'll probably just be happy with this. And because of the time situation, I do have to move a little bit quicker. So we're going to jump the knight in, probably going to activate the bishop here, threaten this guy, maybe even 94 actually. Okay, I could trade because I am ahead. Yeah, let me go bishop here. I want to maybe get rid of this knight. This knight's actually very annoying, and so I'd like to get rid of that guy. Also clears the way if I want to get the queen involved. And as long as we don't lose on time, we have a winning position. Okay, rook, knight c6. Queen might try to sneak in. So probably to prevent that, I'll just go here. Not that that's the end of the world, but yeah, it actually is kind of an annoying move. Okay, so yeah, I'm glad we didn't allow that. Okay, let's see. How do we activate the queen? Look at this. Look at this. There we go. Queen g4. So this was kind of the missing piece, right? We had all of our pieces activated. We didn't have the queen involved. Now we have the queen, and white's king is in trouble. Play f3, I'm taking here. Play knight f3, I'm probably still taking here. Threatening this guy. Threatening the rook. Yes, let's do that. Play rook f1, but we're just going to pile up on the light squares, I think. Look at this. Bishop h5, and it's all just falling apart here for white. Go bishop h5 quickly so I don't lose on time. And the problem is white doesn't have a way to defend all the threats, right? You have to defend this. You have to keep an eye on this. Your rook is under attack. Your bishop is stuck. Your rook is stuck. There's just nothing that white can really do. And yeah, this is going to lead to checkmate very soon. Once the queen and bishop get in there on e2. We'll see if our opponent can come up with a way to survive a few moves longer, but this is the simple checkmate threat. Maybe they could start running now with their king and try to get over here would be maybe how you could survive a few extra moves. Obviously, still not going to be good because you're just losing all these pieces, but I think that's might be the only thing they could try. Okay, they try to take that, but I don't really care. I would rather... Oh, it does allow the king to take. All right, so I will take the queen. I was debating just leaving it, but I will take it because I don't want to lose my knight. Still have the same threat, And white now doesn't have a queen, so. Okay, let's take here with the queen, creating the battery. It's a fork, so we could just take all the pieces if we want. But because I'm low on time, I'm looking for checkmate, and that looks like it's going to do it right here on E2. Okay, so I apologize for the opening. Kind of lost my mind there on move 1. Forgot what I was trying to do. But let's look at the game review here for a second. And all right, so 82. Yeah, we did have a few missteps. Let's see what it was. Yeah, so what I was trying to do is play knight f6 first, and then on c4 play e5. This is the Budapest Gambit, and for some reason my brain just broke for a second and I played it right away. But this is what I was going for. So next time I'll try that and hopefully not mess up the move order there. Now, white decided to do this. Not a good strategy, okay? Lose a tempo. And then again, you're wasting all this time, and I'm just developing my pieces. Now, Stockfish actually says knight to b4. Aha, because now white has a hard time dealing with this. And if you take here, you've got bishop f6, which defends, attacks the queen with tempo. Once the queen moves, then you jump in. Okay, so I missed that. So another reason why bringing out the queen too early, you create weaknesses that now can be taken advantage of. All right, but let's keep going. And yeah, even though I'm down a pawn, Stockfish says minus 1.5. 1.5 point advantage for me because of all the activity, all the piece activity, right? And then it just gets even worse, I'm sure, as we go along. Actually, no, interesting. So somehow I misplayed this. Let's see, what was the mistake? It didn't like bishop f5. It wanted me to chase the knight away and then play d5. Interesting. All right, so it's a little bit complicated. I don't want to get lost in this, but the moral of the story is it's so much easier to play when you just develop your pieces quickly, even at the cost of a pawn. You're just going to have more options available, and your opponent is very limited in what they can do. All right, let's go to the next game. I think we looked at that one enough there. All right, new game. Here we go. We're playing as white. Let me see what's on my list here. Let's go with an e4 and d6. I don't know if I have any openings against this that you guys requested. Yeah, I'm not really seeing much against that. So we're just going to get 2 pawns in the center. Okay, so they're playing the perk. I'll show you guys a setup that I like to play against this. Knight to c3. Yeah, and what I will do here is I want to put my bishop on e3, my queen on d2, and create this battery. But if I go there immediately, then I have to worry about knight g4, which is kind of an annoying move. And then I probably have to move my bishop or allow them to take it. So what you can do instead is play f3. And this is intentionally kind of breaking the principles of not developing and moving pawns because you want to put your bishop here and you want it to be defended from knight to g4. Okay. Also, secondary purpose behind this move is if they castle, which they did, we can launch an attack with this support with like g4, h4, h5. I think we're going to see that very soon. Now, first, I'm going to get my queen here. Go ahead and finish the battery. And then I'm probably going to think about castling and launching the attack. Now, there's a couple ways that I could do this, because usually black wants to do the same thing. They're going to start pushing their pawns over here if I castle. So I could not castle. I could play a4 to stop them from doing that altogether right now. Or I could just ignore it and throw my pawns forward, which is what I think I'm going to do. Okay, I think I'm going to just ignore it. Now, you could throw your pawns forward first. You could try to eliminate the bishop first and then throw the pawns forward, or you could do a combination of those things, right? So one way that I like to do it sometimes is go ahead and blockade the h-pawn, because sometimes they'll try to stop you from attacking with like h5. If you blockade it, they can't do that. Ooh, knight to h5. The reason that's not a good move is because I wanted to attack anyway. I wanted to push these pawns anyway. Now I'm going to get to do it with a tempo on the knight. So it's even better for me, right? So I'm just going to play g4. That's what I wanted to do. Notice that the knight doesn't really have anywhere to go. I've got all these squares covered. So pretty much just has to go back unless they want to lose a piece. And there you go. I got this move for free. And now I'm going to continue with h4. And we're just launching the attack here. Very simple setup. Easy to attack the king if they castle there. And you're going to see that the idea is to go here, trade this, get the rook involved, and then try to checkmate the king. Okay? All right, interesting moment. Because now we have a decision. Do we continue attacking or do we defend against this? Right? Now, the first thing that comes to my mind is just ignore it. And the reason I'm thinking that is because if they do take the same idea that we saw in the last game, I'm going to slide the rook over. This is defended. So this is defended. So everything is defended. Queen's going to have to go over here, waste a bunch of time. I could even play rook b3, force the queen back. You can't invade. I'm pretty happy with that. I've shut down the attack, gained some time, and I'm able to keep attacking. Now, if I don't like the way that looks, I could also consider castling to just defend, which is also totally fine. And then black has to figure out how are they going to keep attacking. So both of those moves, I think, are totally fine. Which one is better? It's hard to say. Maybe castling is slightly better, but I want to show you guys this other option, and I think I'll do that. So let's go ahead with h5. I'm assuming black's going to take here. And we're going to go rook b1. All right, they do take. Rook's under attack, so we play rook b1 with the tempo on the queen. And oh, bishop takes h6 a move? Okay, I probably should have calculated this. That's actually a very interesting move because if I take the queen, they could take me with check, and it's just a big trade, which is not what I want. I don't want a big trade because I sacrificed this pawn so that I could attack the king. I don't want to trade queens if I'm attacking the king. This is actually an amazing move for black. Yeah, I wouldn't expect an 800 rated player to see that, but in hindsight, I think I did misplay that. I should have either traded here first before I pushed h5 or maybe just castled like we talked about. Yeah, okay, I didn't see that. Anyway, and by the way, the idea was that if I took, that the queen would be no longer defending it and I would lose my knight, which is bad news, okay? All right, we dodged a bullet there. But what I'm going to do now is play rook b3. Now, remember last time I decided to not move the rook forward? I didn't think that it really benefited me much. This time I am. And the reason is it's a free move, essentially, because it attacks the queen has to go back. So I don't lose any time. But I like the fact that my knight is now defended, so that if my queen needs to move, I don't have to worry about losing my knight. So that's a very worthwhile move to throw in, okay? So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to take here and open up this guy. This rook on h1 is very, very powerful, okay? And the typical way that you continue the attack here is to trade and then bring in the queen. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to trade and I'm going to bring in the queen. Okay, here we go. Now we've got the queen and rook battery. And all we have to do is figure out how do we get rid of this knight so that we can checkmate the king. Okay, he's going to try to run this way, which is fine. But how do I get rid of the knight? Well, I think g5 should do the trick, right? Force this guy to move, then we can keep invading. Now, it's worth a quick scan at some other options like bishop c4 check, but that seems easy enough for black to deal with. Knight h3 to try to jump in here. Not a bad option as well. But because g5 is so forcing, it just like immediately threatens to win a piece. I think that that's what I'm going to go with. Whenever you're attacking, usually you want to go with the like forcing moves, unless the other moves are just so much more powerful. But I don't, in this case, I don't really want to give the king time to run away and come over here. I like this, right? And so that's why I'm keeping up the pressure. Okay, interesting decision here by our opponent. So what do you guys think I should do? Obviously, they're attacking my rook. Should I worry about that? Should I not worry about that? What do you think? I think the answer is I should not worry about it for two reasons. Number one, I'm going to be able to get a free knight. Now, it does get tricky if they take me, because if I think to myself, well, I'll just take back and I get two pieces for a rook, that's not that simple, because then the queen comes in, I lose a knight, my king's under attack. That's probably not what I want. But if you'll notice, after I take this knight, there's a threat of my queen coming into g7 check. And if you follow that train of thought to where does the king have to move? Well, it has to either move to here or here. I'm assuming that the bishop took my rook, by the way. I go check. The king has to move either here or here. And guess what? My pawn is sitting here. My queen is sitting here. I take this with check, and it's checkmate. Black's king could be there. Obviously, that's checkmate. His king could be here. That's still checkmate because my pawns are controlling the squares over here. So because of that, black doesn't even have time to do this. And they didn't see it, right? They didn't see this idea of checkmate. They thought This is a very, very common beginner mistake. They just assumed, well, they're going to take me back. But no, I'm not. I don't have to, and I'm not going to. I have a much more powerful move that I just talked about. Checkmate. Now, if I didn't have this checkmate, I don't know if I would have taken this knight. I would have had to think through that a little bit more, right? Because then it's like, well, now it's a tough situation. If I take, the queen's coming in here, and that's not really great. But I do have the checkmate, and so we'll just do that instead, and the game is over. But when you're playing games like this where you're attacking on one side, your opponent's attacking on the other side, you always want to be looking for these more powerful moves, right? Because automatically recapturing or automatically dealing with your opponent's threat might not be the best solution, and that's important when especially when both players are, attacking on opposite sides. And actually, if my opponent would have been thinking about that earlier, for example, right here, they could have probably played this nice move, bishop takes h6, right? Not reacting to me, but creating a counterattack, and they would have had a nice position, okay? But they didn't catch that. Back to the game, we have checkmate next move, and it doesn't really matter where the king goes. All right. Very good. Let's check the game review here. Yeah, we did have a blunder. I'm assuming it was that decision to allow the queen to come in, but let's take a look. We're at 56 wins here. Okay, 89. Yeah, let's see what this blunder was. Yes, it was exactly that moment that I mentioned. Okay, so let's just look through that to make sure we're all on the same page. So let me go ahead. And Stockfish says the best move was to castle, which I did talk about, and I kind of had a feeling that maybe was going to be it. If I wanted to attack, Stockfish says you had to just trade the bishop first, and then you could play h5, and then go for the line that I mentioned, and everything is fine. Same kind of idea, right? You throw the rook there, and then you keep attacking. Okay? That would have been okay. But, as I mentioned it during the game, I totally missed. After rook b1, the black has this amazing move, bishop takes h6. And the reason it's so good is, if, like I said, if I take the queen, we end up with just a big trade. We both lost our queen, and we both lost our bishop, but I also lost a pawn, and it's going to be much more difficult for me to attack because queens are off the board. And if I try to take this, black just takes here with a check. Now my king's in trouble, and I lost a piece. And you might say, well, I have an attack going here. It's really not that big of a deal, because even if I take here, black simply takes back. This is defended. There's no checkmate. It's not that good for me. Okay. And any other moves like g5, for example, bishop's just going to take because the same problem. Okay. So very, very nice tactic that black was not aware of. Okay. But after that, I think it was pretty much smooth sailing from there. And yeah, that's it. Okay. Next game. 850. All right, good luck to our opponent. E4. Let me see. What do we have on the list here? How about... Yeah, we'll go with E5. I'm looking at knight F3. The Bush-Gas Gambit. We haven't really got a chance to play that too much. So let's try it again. We're looking for them to take the pawn. I don't think we've really seen that. Yeah, again, nobody wants to take it. Nobody wants to take them. All right, well, I guess we just go to a Yuko piano. Maybe we'll try a fishing pole trap. Let's try a fishing. Yeah, they castle right away. Fishing pole trap should be pretty good. So, how do we set this up? Well, we got to get the bishop over here, obviously, with h5 in. So let's start with d6. I think that's a safe move. And we're gonna pin this now. Yeah, I think it's a safe time to pin it now. I'm just debating if I want to bring my knight out first and then to go for this, or just do it right away. I think we can go right away. You know what? Let's just double check. So this is really important. Whenever you're playing e4, e5 openings, and there's a bishop on c4, and you're thinking about going bishop g4, you always have to ask yourself the question, what happens about a sacrifice or some sort of tactic on f7? So for example, if I go here and they sack the bishop and I take, and they move their knight somewhere with check and unleash the queen, what happens? If they go here, I'm happy because I take with the knight and I defend at the same time. If they go here, I'm happy because I take with the queen and I defend at the same time. So I think we're fine. Yeah, we're fine. But you have to check. You have to make sure. Okay? But I will go bishop g4. But there's all kinds of crazy traps and tricks like that where the bishop sacrifices and you get into trouble because of the discovered attack on the bishop. So very, very important that you check that. Oh, nice, 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 nice. Okay, so here we go. This is the fishing pole trap. When they attack your bishop, you play h5. Now, a couple of things. They obviously need to be castled for this to work on that side. You need to not be castled because you need the rook to be there. Okay. And I think the other thing is you don't want their knight to be able to jump to g5 because if, like, for example, takes, if they can jump the knight to g5 and block off your queen, you have a hard time delivering the checkmate. But in this case, they can't because this is not available. Wow, a3. So the problem with a3 is it doesn't do anything. I mean, yes, it controls that square, but it doesn't do anything on the area of the board that matters, right? And so how do I increase the pressure? Well, I'm going to jump my knight in because this is a pinned piece, and I'm going to attack it with another piece. Very straightforward, right? Boom, here we go. And a3 does nothing. I don't care about that. And so that was a wasted move, essentially, from White's perspective. Very common, though, at this level, right? Like, lots of players, they don't really know what to do, I think. And so they just throw these pawns forward, which sometimes are useful moves, but not really that. I mean, you need to finish your development. White should be playing d3 and getting this bishop out. That's what you should be doing. Even h3, I think, is kind of a wasted move because now it doesn't. You can't even take me, right? They do play b4, but I don't really care. I'm probably just gonna go back. I could consider ignoring it, also, but let's say I take. They take. You know, why not just save the bishop? It doesn't. I still have my same threats. Not really going anywhere. So. All right, knight to d. That's maybe a decent move, threatening my bishop, centralizing the knight. The problem is this guy, right? And we have two options. We can take either way. Both look good, but I think what I'm going to do is take with the knight. And the reason is because, well, two reasons. Number one, after the pawn recaptures, I want to be able to take this with my bishop. And number two, it lets this guy into the action as well. And so that's how I'm going to do this. You can see the problem. Because of the pin, I was able to pile on, and the end result of that is I'm forcing white to make a capture, which exposes the king, right? Which is not what they want to do. So here we go. Just scanning for tactics and things that might happen, but we'll take that. Okay. I think, well, you guys tell me. What should I play here? What should I play? This one's not too difficult. Well, you've got the king exposed. You've got bishops attacking him. The next logical step to think about is how do I keep increasing the pressure? And guess what? Queens are very good pieces to do that. Can I bring the queen in? Oh, yeah, I can with check. And guess what? Then there's going to be a follow-up checkmate on g2. And critical mistake, I think, from White's perspective is they never move this pawn. They never move this pawn forward. Imagine if instead of a3, they had played d3. This would not even be a move that I could play right now because the bishop would be controlling that square, right? Massive mistake from White to not move this pawn forward earlier, right? And even a bishop sitting on the home square or the starting square still controls a good section of the board, right? And so it's important that you get those bishops out right away. Okay, so they go here, and so we just come in for the checkmate. That simple. So fishing pole trap strikes again. I'm going to update that on my spreadsheet over here that we got a chance to play the fishing pole trap again, which is very nice. Let's see what the mistakes were. I'm actually curious because I felt like we played that pretty well. Check the game review. 57 wins so far. Ooh, 78. We did have a brilliant move, which I assume was maybe h5. Oh, 94 was brilliant. Okay, that's weird, but anyway. Let me see. What did the computer not like that we did here? Okay, no, it didn't. It liked h5. Liked that. Oh, it didn't like going back because what's the move here? Oh, I see. Of course, of course. It wanted me to just go for that checkmate right away because the bishop is irrelevant. Of course. So if I do this, takes, this doesn't mean anything, right? Because there's still a checkmate, just like we saw. So that's why I made a mistake. Stockfish said, look, you had it. You need to take advantage of it right away. Don't waste your time moving your bishop back. There must be a defensive move that white has. Yeah, bishop e2. Basically saves the position for white. So the fact that I let them do that was why this was a big mistake. Right? Against like a strong grandmaster, you know, you have to make the most of those opportunities. Okay. So that was one thing. And then it was basically over from there. Yeah. Okay. That was the mistake. All right. Let's go to the next game. Alrighty. Okay. Let me try this again. Let me play the correct move here. Knight f6. Now we can play e5 if we see c4. No, it's going to be a London. It's going to be a London. Okay. So the typical way that you play against the London, I don't know a lot, but I know a little bit. And I'll tell you what I know. We're going to put the pawn on d5. And what is the one drawback from the London? If there's one thing that's wrong with it, what is it? Well, it's this b pawn over here has no defender, right? That's kind of the only thing that I could really think is wrong with the London. So how do we take advantage of that? We got to attack the pawn. I'm going to use my queen, which means what? I have to move this pawn forward. So you play c5. I believe this is the best approach to the London. Now, I think there's some theoretical lines and some tricky things that you should be aware of because white can do this like Jobava London thing, and they can also just do the traditional thing. And I don't know all those lines, but for the basics, for most of you guys watching, this is going to be good enough. Okay, you play c5, you bring the queen out. You're threatening to take the pawn. It's that simple. Now, white has to decide, okay, how do I deal with this? Because it's kind of an annoying pawn to deal with. So let's just say they play queen c2. I think in some situations you can play this move. It's not here, though. It's not. Let me ask you guys a question. Let's just say white, yeah, okay, here we go. Let's say I want to play here, and here's my idea. My idea is that if they take me, I come in here, I'm trapping the rook, and I'm going to take the rook next move. I think that's a terrible plan, but why do I think that's a terrible plan? You tell me. Well, the reason it's a terrible plan is because after bishop f5, queen takes, white has this move, queen to c8, checkmate. So usually I avoid plans that end in me getting checkmated. All right, so that's why we're not going to play bishop f5. But I'm pretty sure this is like a move that sometimes you can play. So maybe we have to get the knight out first, so there's no longer checkmate, and then we can think about that. That's probably it. So let's go with knight c6. And this is a good solid move anyway. I'm developing a piece. I'm putting pressure on the center, controlling this, you know, and also the rook is now involved. So that same situation, we could probably do it now, and we actually do get the rook. Okay, so they stop that, but I can push forward and gain a tempo and then maybe go there. And that's a pretty big deal. I mean, if we get a pawn and a rook and all we lose is a bishop, I'm pretty happy. So I think I do want to play c4. I don't really see what white is going to do. And yeah, I think let's do it. So notice, all of this is starting to revolve around the weakness, or the one weakness that was created when white decided to play the London, right? And so you can see how every opening has pros and cons, right? Like there's some things that it's good at, some things that it maybe creates weaknesses. So that's what we're seeing here. And I'm not an expert at this, by the way. I feel like I've seen some lines at some point in my past where this is the idea. All right, so bishop f5. Let's just verify that white has no way to save the rook. Let's just verify that. Can you defend the rook? No. Can you move the rook away? No. Can you trap my queen? I don't think so. Can you counterattack me somehow? Well, we already dealt with the checkmate because the rook is helping. Let's see, the queen's sitting here. You can't take that. You can't. No, I don't really see anything that white can do. So I think bishop f5 is the move. Let's go. Now, they don't have to take me. They could just go back. But then we get this move for free. It's a nice developing, attacking move. You can't complain about that, right? You can't complain about that. But maybe white's best move is to just move the queen, probably like the queen c1. And the game's going to go on. And yeah, at least their position is still pretty solid. If they take, I'm invading and they're kind of falling apart here, right? But we'll see what they decide to do. Okay, they do play queen c1, so good move by our opponent, I think. Kind of dodging the bullet there. So I guess we just continue developing, like with e6 and get my bishop out. I'm wondering if there's a different plan that makes more sense. Like I would really love to play e5, but I just can't do it yet. Just can't do it yet. So I think I have to play e6 and then just go from there. I'm scanning for like some sort of idea, but I'm just not really seeing it. So I'll play e6. Maybe bishop d6 to counter this guy. Can't obviously do it right now. I'll just lose the bishop, but if I prepare it, maybe with rook d8 or something like that, I could bring my knight in, then maybe go there, or just play bishop e7 and castle. Could also consider knight h5 to capture the bishop. Go ahead and win the bishop pair, and then go from there. That's not a bad idea either. Yeah, I don't really know. What would Stockfish do in this position? I think maybe it would take the bishop. Maybe. You have to be careful moving your piece somewhere like this because it's undefended and it's in line with another piece. But I have a very clear threat, and if this knight moves anywhere, I'm simply going to trade it off right away, and I think I would be happy. So let's go ahead. My plan is to trade the knight for the bishop. Then I have the bishop pair, and we have to figure out how to open up the position. Something like bishop here, f6, e5. Just bust it open. The bishops will be very powerful. This bishop's already very good, right? You can see that. Okay, they do move the knight. And so, like I said, we're just going to capture that guy. So let's go ahead. Dodging the attack there. Now, when they recapture, I don't believe I want to take this because it just allows them to recapture, fixes their pawn structure. They've got this amazing pawn chain. They support it with f4 if they need to. I don't want to deal with that. But what I might do is play f6 to force it to move. And then eventually, when I'm ready, bust open the center with e5. So that's what I'm thinking. I guess you should always check for like sacrifices like this. Takes. But why? What's the follow-up? Why just castles? I don't really have anything. So I don't think we're going to do that. I think f6 is a smart move. Usually if there's a knight, you know, cemented in the center like that, and I have a pawn to chase it away, I'm pretty much going to do that almost every time. If they try to trap my bishop, it's okay. I can just retreat and come back here if I need to, but you want to kind of be on the lookout for stuff like that. Sorry, I didn't mean to highlight that. So I think white's going to take here, and we'll probably just take back. The question is which way. Not a simple decision because I like the position of my queen. And I also could use the rook. So I probably would actually... Oh, they don't take. Okay. I was going to say I probably would actually break the rule here of like doubling my pawns intentionally because I really wanted to use that open b file. But they just go back. Okay. So we want to play e5. The question is, if we go there now, 1, 2, 3, I only have 2 defenders. I'm not ready yet. I think I want to play bishop to d6. However, I'm also keeping an eye on knight h4 because if they get rid of my nice bishop, I don't really want to allow that. This guy is amazing. Kind of want to keep this bishop. So I'm really thinking about playing a move like h6 or h5 just so I can meet that by bringing my bishop back. The other option is I go there first, and then if they go here, I could play bishop f7. Now I would get off of that diagonal, but I do keep the bishop. So that's not a bad idea either. Huh. Yeah, I think this is actually an important bishop to keep. So the question is, how do we do that? I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. I think it's important bishop to keep. And then I'll play bishop to d6. Notice this is a positional game, right? This is the position is very locked up, right? There's not a lot of tension. There's not a lot of captures or tactics. And so because of that, I can take my time. I can move a piece a couple of times. I can not finish developing and not castle right away because of the nature of the game, okay? So it's important that you understand that. I wouldn't be playing moves like this in a wide open, tactical, super aggressive, crazy position. I would be trying to develop as fast as possible. All right, let's go bishop d6. Multi-purpose move. It puts pressure here and also threatens play e5 and also gets out of the way so I can castle. Okay, so they defend. What's the drawback of that move, by the way? The light squares are weakened. Just something to keep an eye out. I can't take advantage of it right now, but I am going to keep that in the back of my mind. Okay, I could really castle either way. I think I'm going to castle kingside because I like this rook being here, and then I'm going to bring this rook here and just try to bust everything open. Knight to d2 makes sense. I think I am going to prepare before I bust it open. Get both of my rooks in a good position to be ready with where I think the open files are going to be. Imagine if I go here and these pawns get traded. You know, these would be gone, and that's exactly where I would want my rooks, right? So you really want to think, when you're moving your rook somewhere, you want to be thinking, like, what are the files that are most likely going to be open? And you put them there. B4. Now, what do we have? Well, we do have en passant. Is it a good move? I don't know. They just recapture, and then they're ready to start pushing their pawns, maybe. I'm not really sure if that benefits me to take it. Yeah, so I think I'm just going to continue with my plan instead. E5. And the reason this is so powerful, right, is because right now everything's blocked off. My pieces can't get in. Everything is like nice and defended. But as soon as I play e5 and start trading off those pawns, it clears the way. And all my pieces, which, by the way, my pieces are much nicer than white's. Look at these rooks. White's rooks are not doing anything. White's queen is kind of awkward. Even the pieces are kind of like, yeah. And I have the bishops. Bishops are better in an open board, right? So all of these are small things. Let's go ahead and take back. But notice the position all of a sudden is going to start coming alive, and tactics are going to pop up out of nowhere. Yep, here we go. Look at this. Boom. Boom. Just so nice drawing all these like diagonals, lines. So let's take with the knight. And the reason I'm taking with the knight is because I want to keep my bishops. So pretty straightforward. I want to keep the bishops. The position is opening up. Bishops are going to be more valuable. So we take with the knight first. Also, the knight's not doing much over here. Like, the only thing that it can't go here, you can't go here, you can't go here. I can go backwards, or I can take this. So I may as well move it forward. Now I'm threatening some real stuff with the knight. Okay. So what is white going to do about this? Very difficult position to play. You can see what I'm talking about. The tactics are going to start popping up. This guy's undefended, so that's a big issue for white. We can find a nice move for a knight here. This is a weakness. I could play h6, chase the knight, probably what, back here. Not really bothering me there, though, so I could just also just leave it. Yeah, let's just go knight d3. This just seems simple and easy. So why is it such a good move? I'm threatening the queen. I'm also adding another attacker here, so I'm threatening to take this guy. Okay? And if white takes me, guess what? The bishop comes in. We've got two bishops against two knights on an open board now, as we traded off some pawns. And I'm hitting the rook with the threat here, and that's what we're going to see, right? Look at this. It's over. It's over. And look at these bishops. Look at this. 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 I'm controlling so many squares with these bishops, right? Look at this. Look at how much of the board. Oh, I think the move messed my nice little picture up. Anyway, you get the idea. This knight's not doing anything. This knight hardly doing anything. So he saves the rook and allows this. So let's probably invade with the queen. Makes the most sense when you can get the queen close to the king. Usually that's what you want to do. And now I'm going to look for a checkmate. Do we have... I don't actually see one immediately. Yeah, I don't see one immediately. Of course, we could also just take a bunch of pawns and win that way. Trading. Does trading make sense? Takes. Let's just say I trade everything. It's still a really nice endgame, but why would I trade when I'm about to get checkmate and my queen is just so amazing? So really, I need to figure out a more powerful move here. What is a more powerful move? I would love to go queen here, bishop here. The knights are defending those squares. A sacrifice might make sense. Ooh, maybe we should do that. Just invade it from a different direction. Yeah, that seems pretty good. My bishop's not really doing a lot. Let's go ahead, sack it, get rid of the pawns, and then we have new ways to get to the king. I have to kind of make a decision because I have 1 minute. The game's not over yet, so that's why I just decided to go ahead and do it. Maybe, Stockfish would just say just trade off and go into the end game and win that way, but this looks like it's going to lead to a checkmate, so I'm going to go with my instinct here. And the nice thing is, even if I lose this bishop and pieces get traded, we would go into an endgame where white has 3 pawns and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pawns. That's very winnable against the knight, even if, like I said, I'm down a piece. Okay, so that's totally fine. Doesn't want to take it. Okay. Oh, it's just checkmate. It's just checkmate. Okay. Could have taken the bishop, buddy. All right. Let's check the game review. I think that was a pretty nice game there. That'll be 58 wins so far in the series. 95.9 with 2 brilliant moves against the London? What? What? All right. All right. I'm proud of that, actually. I'm actually proud of that. What were the 2 brilliant moves here? Oh, bishop f5. Brilliant. Nice, nice. And what was the other one? Bishop takes g3. We had a brilliant move with both bishops. Okay. Very cool. So I guess we didn't do anything wrong. 95.9 is like pretty much perfect game. Push. We do the brilliant. We just play e6. Stockfish agrees on going to get the bishop. Does it? Let's see. Maybe that was a slight inaccuracy. Oh, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. Take that guy. It likes f6. Okay, it actually was recommending h5 here. Same idea, though. Keeping the bishop, right? I decided to do it a different way. d6, very good. Castles, yeah, cool. Nice game. Nice game. All right, let me see. Yeah, we have time for one more game. Let's do it. Let's go. Last game here. All right, e4. What am I going to play? Let's go with d6 again. What is this? Everybody's playing this. I mean, we could play the same thing again and maybe see some different line. Yeah, we'll play the same one again so you get some more experience with it. We'll go for the same exact setup. We'll play knight c3, put our pawn on f3, bishop on e3, and you'll get to see. Maybe black will defend differently. Let's just see what they come up with. a6, interesting. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing of defend my bishop from this knight by playing f3. I'm going to put my bishop here. And the nice thing about this setup, let's say black, black's doing some weird stuff. Like, let's say black doesn't castle. It's okay. This is a solid setup. Like, you can just put your pieces like this. There's nothing wrong with this. I don't have to attack over here. I could even castle this way if I want. That's totally fine, right? So that's why I like this setup. It's very flexible. You could pretty much do whatever you want with it. You want to attack on the king side? Attack on the king side. You want to just castle king side? Castle king, like whatever you want. So, okay. I mean, queen d2. I'm giving myself the option to castle. I might not, but if I want, I can. And the nice thing about this is it defends the bishop, creates the battery, just gives you lots of options. Looks like our opponent is going to do, I don't know, something like this maybe. Yeah. All right. So I could like start thinking about striking in the center, but I think what I'm going to do instead is finish my development. Okay. So bishop probably to c4. And you do have to watch out for this pawn push. So you have 2 options. you just let him do it, and then you go back and you let him push again, and you just kind of jump your knight around, and you're fine. Or you stop it altogether with a4, which is, it's nice because you gain more space. It's not nice because you create a little square where the knight or bishop could jump in, and you can't chase it away easily. So it's, again, it's this idea of a trade-off. Which one do you like? I actually like getting the space a lot of times. So I'm going to do that. Just know that I am kind of giving up this square at some point. If black wants to, they can jump a piece there, right? That's part of the deal, okay? But now I can play bishop c4. I don't have to worry about b5. So it's fine. And of course, I'm scanning for these like pushes, but I think I want to develop some more pieces, maybe get my king out of the center first. By the way, by playing a4, I'm pretty much committing to not castling this way, right? Because now this doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm probably going to be castling kingside now. Okay, let's go bishop c4. We're going to put our knight on e2. We're going to castle, and then we'll go from there. You can see it's a very solid setup. You have a nice center. You know, it's kind of difficult for your opponent to figure out what to do. I think we're going to see, oh no, he decides to go after the bishop. Okay. I don't want to let him have the bishop. So I'm either going to go to a2 or d3. Obviously, I don't want to go here, block my knight. I can't go anywhere else. Otherwise, the bishop gets traded. So it's a question of, would I rather the bishop be on this diagonal, blocking the rook temporarily, or here, which doesn't look as good, also blocks my queen, but you never know. If I push this forward, maybe that could be useful. I'm thinking this looks more valuable at the moment. I'm not worried about this because the knight defends. Okay, so I think bishop a2 is where I want to go. Probably next, knight to e2, and then castle. We could chase the knight away with b4 if we want to get aggressive, but again, I think I want to develop and castle before I start. Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. What should I play? Well, I basically gave it away. b4. I was thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, the knight goes back, and I can push, and I need to try. I didn't really want to, but guess what? You can't go back anymore. You can't go back anymore. You can't go here. You can't go here. Guess what? The knight is trapped. This is why you have to be careful putting your knights on the edge of the board. And I will play b4 and win a piece. By the way, the previous game when I was black and I moved my knight to the side, the difference was that the bishop that I was attacking, if you remember that other game, the bishop didn't have a place to escape to. Here, I just got away, which means the knight can't trade and it becomes a liability. In the previous game, that didn't happen to me because I just traded it and I was fine, right? So you can see the subtle difference, but it's actually a big difference. And now black's in trouble. They lost a piece. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so what should I do? Should I react to this? Should I take this? No, no, because they are threatening to take this pawn. And if they take the pawn, guess what? I don't get the knight. Got to take the free piece. Got to take the free piece. This is fine. We've got to defend it. No big deal. No big deal. Okay, bishop to b4. Interesting move. So we have to be a little careful here because this is a pin. And we're missing our b pawn, which means the dark squares are a bit weak, right? That's kind of annoying. Imagine if the queen jumps to a5. We could find ourselves in a problem. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm not going to wait around for that to happen. I'm going to do something right away. Now, it's a question of what is that something going to be. I'm thinking I'm going to defend with the knight. And then if the queen comes out, I'm going to maybe just castle or something. There's one idea, though. Let's just say I play knight here. Takes, and bam, knight jumps in. So I'm thinking about like pushing this forward first, but then there's queen takes a5. No, because if I push forward, the knight can never jump in here. You guys see that? By not allowing this trade and just pushing, if the knight ever goes there, I just take it. So I don't have to worry about that. Yeah, I think that's worth it. Because here's the thing. If the queen comes to a5, you've got a queen and a bishop attacking my knight. It's defended one time. I can add another defender very easily. But if it gets attacked a third time with a knight landing here, I'm in trouble, right? I'm in trouble. So we're going to avoid that by playing e5, like I said. And yes, black can throw in this move and attack me, but I always have knight e2 here to defend, and I'm pretty happy. But you have to pay attention. Like, this is important. I think a lot of people could easily miss the problem that's about to happen here. And notice that I'm not waiting until it's a problem. I'm planning ahead, like, yeah, I see where this is going. Let me start thinking about that right now. Okay? Again, I see where this is going. Let me think about that right now. Go ahead and defend, and I'm in good shape, right? And there we go. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do now is just castle. It's one piece out of the pin, and then next move I'll probably play like queen d3, get the other piece out of the pin, and black has no way to add an attacker, so I'm totally fine at the moment. The knight can jump here, but who cares? Bishop is stuck. I'm good to go. So let's go ahead and castle. Okay, so f6. Now, I can ignore it and just continue with my plan of getting out of the pin, or I can use this opportunity to open up the e-file, which is kind of tempting. Now, I don't like that it brings the knight sort of into the game, but my pawn on f3 is doing a good job of controlling anywhere the knight could go to, so it's probably fine. The other thing is maybe it opens up a file on my king, which is not ideal. So, yeah, do I want to trade or not? If I allow them to push by, though, then it's really closed off. I'll go ahead and open it up. I'll go ahead and open it up just to keep the position open. Knight does come there, but like I said, it's not really, doesn't really have anywhere to go. Now, what was a major weakness of that f6 move? The light squares, right? The light squares here. You no longer have support here and here. So I'm going to play queen d3, which is lined up with my plan of getting out of the pin anyway. But I'm also, look at this, creating some serious threats here on black's king because of the weaknesses by pushing these pawns forward. Remember, every time you push a pawn forward, you create a weakness. And so even me, when I played b4, yes, I got a knight from it, but I created a weakness here and I had to be careful, right? We had to cover that with other pieces. So black has created this weakness. Now they have to be careful. And we'll see what they're going to do about that. They could castle would be one option probably, or castle the other way. I don't know. Ooh, knight to h7. Well, the problem with that is what? It doesn't stop my threat. It doesn't stop my threat. And why is this such a good move? Well, black now loses castling rights. Well, that's a big deal. I know where the king's going to be. I can attack the king. Now, I did leave my queen, so I have to be careful here. I don't just lose my knight. But it's with check. Okay, now we know where the king is going to be, and now I have time to figure out how do I want to deal with this. And by the way, you should always like look for some tactics here, like this. Check. Don't really see a follow-up. Unfortunately, my bishop is locked out here, and my rook is stuck because this pawn. I would like to push that forward and trade this off. Problem is, I don't really want to just give up a piece for no reason. So, might play bishop d2 just to deal with that. Or, let's see, could I play knight f4? Ooh, knight f4 is interesting. Sacking the piece, jumping in here, h3. Yeah, it just doesn't quite look like it works. So I don't really want to lose my knight for free. So I think I will just defend. And then I can take my time pushing my pawn because I'm not losing a piece. And once we get here, we open up the f-file. We're in good shape. Okay, c5 by black. Maybe trying to force my knight to move and then win a piece. Don't really want to allow that. So probably just going to take it. Yes, I'll be in check. But we can very easily tuck our king in the corner and we're totally safe. The other thing that I could do is maybe some sort of a sacrifice. Let's just say takes, takes, takes. That looks pretty good. Now, the only thing is they don't have to take me. They could just take here instead. Could also ignore this and go f4 and then f5. If they take me, take, bring this rook over. Oof. So many options. Very complicated position. Because of the time situation, I'm going to have to make a decision. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. I'm pretty happy giving up a piece if I can open up the F file. So I'm going on my instincts. My instincts tell me, hey, that's totally worth a piece. That's totally worth a piece to be able to do this. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just give up the knight, open up the king, and there should be a checkmate somewhere to follow. When you have 2 minutes, you can't realistically calculate every single option, especially in a complicated position like this. So you kind of have to go with your instincts. Okay, this is what I wanted to achieve. Now the F file is open. Now we just keep looking like this, right? This looks very obvious to me. I mean, a rook for a knight and a pawn is not a bad trade in and of itself. But then when you totally bust open the king at the same time, it's like even better. So here we go. Threatening the rook. So bishop f7, we would take the rook. This way, we could actually just get our piece back right away. I'm seeing if there's anything better, but that looks very, very good. So let's just take that. And you could see how the king is now just totally exposed. And black never even had time to take our piece, right? And then always be scanning for checkmates, for checkmate patterns. This is why it's important that you work on your checkmate patterns. But as soon as I saw the king go there, I noticed queen f7 was checkmate. Okay, so there we go. Cool, let's check the game review on that one. And let me update the win count here. 59 wins so far. Oh, sorry, I didn't put this on for you guys. Yeah, 92. Wow, 2 more brilliant moves. So we're getting lots of brilliant moves here. Let's see, what were those brilliant moves? First one was, f5. Okay. And then next one was rook takes f6. Very good. So it's more important that you focus on like checkmating the king than just, well, how do I save my piece? What, like if you can create a more powerful threat, usually it's worth it. So, all right, guys, I hope that helped. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you next time. As always, stay sharp, play smart, and take care.